Remove the locking block by gently prying upward. Gently pry the ejector upward. Remove the complete assembly, including the trigger and the trigger bar. To remove the striker assembly, push down on the plastic sleeve, taking the pressure off the slide-in cap assembly. Slide the cap assembly out of the closed position and clear of the slide. Press the firing pin block to release any pressure. Push the striker assembly up and out of the slide. We recommend that you do not disassemble the striker assembly. There are two small pins located on the left side of the sear housing assembly. The pin closest to the muzzle is the small sear pin and doesn't go through the housing completely. Look into the housing and you will see the right end of the pin. Notice how the pin is placed over the internal spring. With a screwdriver, push the pin all the way to the left. Take the disconnector and sear and place into the frame. The disconnector and sear are placed in the middle with the disconnector placed through the hole in the frame and the bottom resting on the trigger bow. Insert a punch through the push rod, the disconnector, and the sear. Make sure you clean each one. Get all of the debris off. Scrub this really well. Scrub down the forcing cone. Loosen up the debris. Now we want to check the crosshairs. When you're standing and holding your firearm in the air, you're never going to hold the firearm straight up and down. So set it in a good vise, make sure it's straight up and down, and look down your scope without pushing it forward or backward and affecting the eye relief, and turn the scope until the crosshairs are straight up and down as close as your eye can get them. And they're there. Now that we've got to that point, let's tighten up the screws. When you take the firing pin out, you can turn that and that will release the bolt which is up here. You can see the lugs and the extractor on the right side. So let's take the firing pin out. First we take out the firing pin key. And this is a very small key, and you notice it's in two sections here. Do not spread those apart or bend them in any way. Slide the firing pin out, set it aside. Okay, you can see the pin is not pushed out all the way. There's no need to. Raise the firing pin slowly. There is a small spring seated under the firing pin. This is the firing pin rebound spring. Notice one end is closed. This is the end that rests against the firing pin. Lay this down like this, and inside here, make sure that this is closed. You can see the cartridge block. That has to be depressed, and you just slide it apart. So now you have the breech bolt and the slide assembly here. pull the trigger pin out. Same type of pin as the hammer pin. Same configuration, they're both identical. You take out the sear and the trigger. It's a Tapco trigger. And now we need to take out the safety. And to do that, there's a latch right here. Just take a screwdriver and get underneath it and pull it out like this. Once you've accomplished that, pull it backwards and pull down. And these can be very tight, and you may need a little assistance. I have a non-marring tool here, which I'm going to tap on a little bit. And that's all it needed, and you can see how that comes out of there. The next piece we're going to take out of the receiver is the slide, and you can see that right here. And if you notice on the receiver here, this area here is larger than the rest of it, and that's the location where this slide has to be pulled up and through. Spring will come out, and please notice which end was in first and came out last when you're disassembling this. Okay, next we're going to pull to the rear the bolt carrier and the bolt. Lift the carrier straight up, come underneath and push your bolt up, pull the bolt out. And as we take these apart, this is the follower pin. This part here is the catch for the operating rod. And as you can see down in here, we pull this out. You can see down in here it has a part that's called the accelerator. And that accelerator is held in place by an accelerator pin. We're not going to disassemble that. We'll just lay that down. Okay, we're going to remove the bolt. Grab the stud, pull the bolt back a little bit and bring it up. I'm twisting the stud towards myself and it won't come out. So if I twist the stud back to the right, it comes out. And the reason being is this firing pin needs to hit that slot right here to come out, and that's why we rotated it back the opposite direction. But it's pretty easy to get in and out. That's your bolt. Now to pull out the spring unit, mash down the safety lock. Here you have the captive firing pin spring assembly, and here you have the firing pin, and here you have the firing pin return spring. It's very tiny, you can see it here, and we're going to put that in a little magnetic dish over here. There's a rail over here, and we have a rail on this side, and that's all we're going to put, other than on the barrel. And what we're going to do here is rub this all around the barrel, up underneath it as well. Okay, we're going to take the bolt apart for this Mini 14, and looking right here you see the extractor and the extractor plunger and spring underneath the plunger. Usually you might find an ejector right in here like you do on a Garand or carbine. This firearm does not have an ejector in this place. Now some of the older models will, but this is a new model and it doesn't. Push it down, push the pin out the other side, and here's the pin. Now when we take this punch out, that spring and the cap's going to want to fly like crazy, so you have to maintain a lot of pressure on that to get it out. So here is the cap, the spring. Okay, next we're going to take out the guide rod, which only comes out the top. And if you see down in here, you can see the firing pin sitting right here. We'll pull the firing pin up and out, and then we'll show you the other parts that's down in there. This is the way the firing pin looks from the side. That's where that little firing pin stop goes through that hole right here. So it's in there like this. We'll lay that aside, and if you can see right here, there's a rebound spring, a little tiny one, and it's attached to a rebound spring support. Let me hold this up for you if I can. Okay, and you can see that. We're going to take the slide and the recoil springs. Again, another double spring. Separate them. Looks like either end works on either end. Lay them there. Pull the barrel out. And we now have the field strip condition of the Hellcat. To remove the extractor, take a small screwdriver, place it between the extractor and the retractor pin, which is supported by the extractor pin spring. Now we want to push the pin this direction while we angle forward, getting underneath the extractor and popping it right out. Here's the extractor. We just removed the extractor right here. It sits right in here. The extractor pin that follows it, and the extractor spring, which is underneath the pin. When replacing the hammer strut, make sure the hammer's all the way forward. Place the hammer strut in and make sure it's seated, which it is. The hammer strut spring is next. And we take the magazine release catch and push this up so that these two studs go into these two grooves, which holds it in place. Here we go. Not that hard if you do it properly. You can see if you have the strut aligned properly with the hammer, and you do, you can see how it's compressing the spring here. And remember, a clean gun shoots on target.